All right, NBA season preview time. This is Trey Daubert along with me, Matt Hanifan. We're going to be doing the defending reigning champion. We've said that a lot over the last 10 years. Golden State Warriors. Hanifan, we know that they won the title last year, but give me a sort of recap of how the season went.
4 times in 8 years, man.
Yeah.
They finished 53-29. They were tied for 15th in offense, second in defense. They didn't have Wiseman at all last year, but they still had a magical year and saw leaps from many guys: Gary Payton Jr., Andrew Wiggins, and Jordan Poole. They were probably one of the best defenses in the league. They got out to such a roaring start until a couple injuries to Steph and Trey kind of mitigated that a little bit. Klay Thompson came back middle of the year after having multiple knee surgeries multiple knee surgeries for serious injuries that he suffered in the past. But they all eventually started playing together more often in the playoffs. They were probably not far and away, but they were the best team in the playoffs, in my opinion. Beat the Nuggets in 5 games. I think they beat the Grizzlies in 6, Mavericks in 5, and then, of course, your Boston Celtics in 6 games in the NBA Finals. Steph went absolutely nuts in that series, and I think he averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, just stupid, ridiculous numbers. I remember I was looking at it in preparation for this, and he had 6 threes in 4 of those final games. He only had 2 the other, I think, however many games the rest of the playoffs. But yeah, no, this team, I mean, it wasn't really surprising in the end when you figure out, when you do the gymnastics that they won, because again, they have such a solidified core with Steph, Trey, and Klay. And then, of course, when you get contributions like you get from Wiggins in the finals, where Wiggins is everywhere on the glass, he's cutting well, he's shooting the ball. He wasn't super efficient, at least from 3-point, but he was still one of those very impactful glue guys. I mean, of course, then Kavan Looney, it's kind of the defensive stalwart in the interior for him. He was also very good on the glass. He was very good at just cleaning up the easy buckets. And then, of course, when you have Steph playing as well as he played, and then, I mean, I know Trey didn't have the best NBA Finals ever, but he still made an impact, especially late in the series. And you also just get contributions from, of course, players who aren't there anymore, like Gary Payton II and Otto Porter Jr., which we'll talk about. But this was just a very well-constructed team, and they had an incredible season last year. And it's one of those things where I can't ever count the Warriors out no matter what, assuming everyone's healthy.
You mentioned Wiseman a little bit. He should be healthy this year. It doesn't technically count as an offseason move, but let's go over the offseason moves. Gary Payton is gone. However, who else did they bring in to replace him?
They brought in Dante DiVincenzo. He most recently played with Sacramento, I think, last year.
Put red hair on you, he might look a little bit like him.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Certainly don't play like him when I played basketball.
Okay.
Considerably worse in all facets of the game.
All right.
But they brought in Dante DiVincenzo to kind of be that, I guess, Gary Payton replacement. Dante he handles the ball a little bit better. He's a little bit more of a creator offensively. He's also a very good defensive player. I don't know if he's as good as Gary Payton, but Gary Payton is one of the better defensive guards that we have in this league.
He can shoot better.
Young guards. He certainly has the traits to be one. And then they also got Jamichael Green, who I really liked that acquisition. They picked him up. He didn't have it was weird because his last couple years with the Clippers, he was an efficient 3-point shooter. He came in, I think, ahead of the 2020-2021 season, signed with Denver. I think he was close to 40% from deep. And then last year, he had a down year. And I think it was a very good buy low acquisition for Golden State. He was kind of that Otto Porter Jr., Nemanja Bjelica replacement. They also lost Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Lee, but they brought in Patrick Baldwin Jr. And of course, the acquisition that's not an acquisition, James Wiseman, who I've the first couple of preseason games that I've watched, or at least like watched spurts of, Wiseman just looks really well. He's moving really well, both offensively and defensively. I mean, he's hit a few threes, I think, in these couple preseason games that they had overseas against the Wizards. And he just adds another dimension to their front court that they didn't have last year. He adds more size. He's certainly he has the potential to be a very good rebounder and shot blocker. And of course, since he only played 3 games in college, something like that, like he doesn't have much experience since high school. But I think when you are in an organization like the Warriors, perhaps the best developmental organization in the league, it certainly has a chance to get the most out of him, as well as DiVincenzo and Green, Baldwin Jr., who also kind of had a shaky college experience, to say the least. But yeah, no, they lost some players like Peyton and Bjelica and Porter, and of course Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Lee, who were like contributors when they were on the floor for the most part. But I think they brought in a good crop of players. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think this could be like one of the deeper rosters that Kerr's had.
We know that this thing goes as Steph Curry goes. He's
Yep.
the key player. Don't have to waste any time there. However, is there an X factor that maybe you want to talk about that we haven't gotten to already? Maybe a Jonathan Kuminga, maybe a Moses Moody, one of these young guys that could step up.
Yeah, I think there's certainly room for guys like Kuminga with some of these losses at the wing spots. I think there's certainly room for guys like Kuminga and guys like Moses Moody. Maybe even, I know you may not have heard this guy, but if he makes the team, Quindary Witherspoon is a guy that I'm looking at that could potentially get minutes at the wing or in the backcourt.
He can't be better than the cum bucket, though.
No. I mean, Quindary Witherspoon is the typical, like, he kind of reminds me of Gary Payton. His shot hasn't translated to the next level, but he was so good in Santa Cruz when he played. He's like that typical, like, just hustle rebound. I mean, he averaged like 7 rebounds a game in his very limited stints last year when he's only 6'3". But I think the X factor here is a guy that was the X factor from in last year's finals, and that's Andrew Wiggins. I think if you can, since the NBA is turning into such a wings league, if you can get a guy like Andrew Wiggins who will, like, excuse my French here, but defend his ass off and also produce offensively and on the glass the way that he did, I mean, I think he averaged like something like 18.5 points or something like that in the final 2 series of the season.
All I know is it was what Jason Tatum wasn't averaging. That's what I noticed.
Right. But like he was such an X factor, and of course shut up all the critics that he's had for years when he was in Minnesota. I mean, remember when Golden State first acquired him, Golden State was getting blasted for it.
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell.
Right. And I thought Wiggins was just incredible in practically every single facet other than his 3-point shooting late in last year. But he didn't need that when he was such an impactful player in every other way. And I think if the Warriors want to repeat or at least make another finals within the next couple of years, I think Wiggins is their X factor.
Warriors, they weren't the 1 seed last year, but does it matter? Do we have a season prediction? Are they going to repeat again? What do we got?
I think the Warriors are in a state right now to where they won't go pedal to the metal in the regular season. And so I think I have them when I wrote it down, I have them as a 3 seed right now.
Okay.
But I still think this team
is
one
seed?
Of the favorites in the Western Conference to repeat, or
Who's
at least at the bare minimum. I think they're certainly a contender to make it back to the Western Conference Finals. Assuming again, it all comes down to health with like any of these teams, but like if they can stay healthy, if a fully healthy offseason Clay can continue, I guess just being like a productive player. If Dre can still be an impactful presence, if Steph can still do Steph shit. I mean, I still think this team
can we get Jordan Poole to play some defense? That'd be nice.
That they're gonna need that, but
yeah.
I mean, he's such an igniter on the offensive end to where
Grease
he
lightning
doesn't cancel each other out, but he's still a very good player. And I mean, yeah, he will need to improve on the defensive end, but
yeah.
I still think this team, at worst, not at worst, but I still think this team get back to the Western Conference Finals and possibly repeat. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen for a lot of these teams in both conferences. I mean, this is an incredibly deep league with a lot of very good teams, so a lot of stuff needs to happen for them. But I still think if any team could do it, it's the Warriors.
Yeah, going out on a limb there. # Warriors good.
Yeah, listen. Some would say, not everyone, but some might say they're pretty decent.
Yeah. All right, that's your Warriors season preview. Matt Hanifan over there. Make sure to follow him on Twitter. MPH824 or something. You can find him. Myself, Trey Daubert. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.